Hi and welcome back to my channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Matthias and I'm an underwater cinematographer and filmmaker based in Zurich, Switzerland. On my channel we talk about filmmaking, underwater cinematography, and I also give you some tips and tricks out of my experience how you can get the best possible footage with the equipment that you have, or what little accessories might help you to get even better footage. Now today I finally get around to do the last part of my 5-part Ronin-S series, which talks about my experience with the Ronin-S over the past 6 months. Coming up. Now I've been using DJI's Ronin-S quite extensively over the last 6 months, ever since I've got the device, and I've been using it mainly for corporate films and also shooting events. So today I'd like to give you my opinion on what I like about the Ronin-S, what I don't like about the Ronin-S in regards to shooting corporate films and events. Now what I like about the Ronin-S is that it is a fairly compact package and the whole device is built very well. So it can withstand quite a bit of misuse, if you want to put it that way, or just wear and tear throughout a normal shooting day. Now, a lot of the events that I've been shooting lately were events up in the mountains where I've been shooting for a larger client. They do ski races and I've been shooting those events for them for the last couple weeks. And those are not always the easiest conditions. You know, it's up in the mountains, sometimes there's a little snow, sometimes it's very cold, so the gear gets put to a testing point, and I have to say that I've never ever experienced any problems with the DJI Ronin-S, technical problems that is. So for that reason, the build quality and the compactness of the system has really convinced me. Another thing I really like is the strong motors that the Ronin-S has installed. Now, I usually don't really use the whole capacity of the motor simply because I'm shooting with a fairly light setup. I've got my GH5 or GH5S on it, and I normally have my Panasonic Leica 12-60 on it, in particularly if I'm shooting events, because that way it gives me a lot of flexibility in terms of focal length and in terms of how I want to compose my shots. Now that's not a very heavy setup on the Ronin-S, but it's good to know that it can handle a lot more than that. So you can be quite confident that using such a setup, you won't run into any problems with the strength of the motors. Another good thing about having strong motors on it is that you can actually put larger cameras on the Ronin-S, and you can also use larger, heavier lenses on it. I've used my Sigma 18-35 quite a few times on my GH5 and the Ronin-S. The Sigma is the lens that I'm filming with right now, so I can't show you that one. But I've also put the Canon 100 on my GH5 and put that on the Ronin-S, and it has worked great. So even larger lenses, heavier lenses, will be handled just fine on the Ronin-S, and that for me is a huge plus, knowing that you've got that spare energy, that spare power in your system is just something that puts my mind to peace. One of the most important factors for me shooting a lot of events was the runtime of the battery, and DJI states that their battery grip will last for about 8 to maybe 10 hours, and I can quite confirm that statement. Now, those ski days, ski races that I've been talking about before, these are normally full day shoots. So we started around 8 o'clock in the morning and we finish by like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's like a 7 or 8 hour time frame that we're shooting and that I'm shooting on the Ronin-S pretty much constantly. So it's running constantly throughout that time. And I've never had any issues with the battery going so low that I was worried it would run out on me throughout the day, which is a great thing. And keep in mind that in those occasions I was up in the mountains, it was really cold, it was not the perfect environment for the best possible performance of a energy source or a battery, but they did perform just great, and I've never run into any problems. And even just checking the battery indicator at the end of the day, I have never run lower than 25% remaining battery power on the Ronin-S, even after having used it for 7 or 8 hours straight. So that for me is a great thing. Moving on to the next thing that I really like about the Ronin-S is the flexibility that it gives you by using add-ons and accessories to rig it up in a way that you like, that you enjoy, and that is most beneficial for your type of work. Now there's tons of different accessories that you can use for the Ronin-S to adapt it to your needs. One that I found very useful is a second handle that just screws into the bottom of your battery grip. You can still screw in the tripod mount on the bottom of that, so you can still place it down. And this makes using the system, in my opinion, a lot more convenient. So now instead of having to use it as a one-handed gimbal, you can use both your hands holding and operating the gimbal, which makes it a lot more convenient to do so, in my opinion. Now also these extra handles that you can put on, you can also use them to attach accessories, like for example a microphone if you wish so. You can also use it to place a light source on it. So that can be quite useful in many ways, and if you'd ask me which accessory you should get to your Ronin-S, I would definitely say get one of these. It doesn't have to be the exact same model, there's different models out on the market, but definitely get something like this. It will make your life, it will make your work with the DJI Ronin-S so much easier and more pleasant. Now let's talk quickly about the app that DJI has for the Ronin-S. Now I personally think that it is a great app, that it offers you a ton of options, additional options that you can use using your Ronin-S. I mean, there's stuff like hyperlapses, time lapses, you can do panoramics, you can do 360 shots with it. It is a really good tool. Now, if you want to know more about the basic functions and how to use the app with the Ronin-S, I'll link up a little video here. This is part number 2 of my Ronin mini-series, which talks just about those topics. And last but not least, and probably one of the most important points that I like about the Ronin-S is its stability and also the results based on the stability that you can get out of the Ronin-S. In my opinion, using a Ronin-S will increase your production value and your production quality by quite a bit. Being able to make controlled camera movements will definitely make a difference in the quality of your footage and also in the creativity that you can put into composing shots and composing scenes. And that is, in my opinion, a really big advantage of using a gimbal system. Now that doesn't have to be the Ronin-S by DJI, that can be any other gimbal, whichever gimbal suits your needs best. But what I found using the Ronin-S over the past 6 months is that it delivers constantly a very good quality of stabilization, and if you practice just a little bit with it, you will have a very steep learning curve and you will get very good using the Ronin-S quite quickly. Now, let's talk about the other side. Let's talk about things I don't like about the Ronin-S. And first and foremost, I have to mention the weight of the system. Now, even though it is a smaller system and it's a one-handed gimbal, it does weigh quite a bit. And especially if you have somewhat of a larger camera, a larger lens on it, and if you carry it around on an event throughout the entire day, you will definitely feel it. I feel it every day I'm shooting up in the mountains. At the end of the day, I can feel it in my back, I can feel it in my shoulders. The system is heavy, and it takes its toll. So just make sure that you do put it down every now and then when you're not shooting at that moment, so that your muscles can relax a little bit. It's also sensible, in my opinion, to use, as I mentioned before, a second handle, so you can distribute the weight onto both arms and both shoulders rather than having everything just on one side. That helps a lot. But yeah, that's just what it is. The DJI Ronin-S is not a lightweight gimbal, and if you want to work with it, you're just gonna have to accept that and find ways to rest and place it down every now and then rather than having it in your hand the entire day. And I don't think that's a big problem if you're like on a set and you're shooting scenes here and there, because in between the scenes you can always put it down and relax for a little bit. It's more of an issue if you're more into event videography, wedding videography, where you do want to capture pretty much every moment or every important moment, and you need to be ready to do so at any time. So placing the gimbal down there is not really much of an option, but try to find a way which works most comfortably for you. There's also straps that you can attach around your neck and onto the gimbal that will take some of that weight off your arm and shoulders. Try out different things, see what works best for you. I found a way that I can work with this gimbal and with its weight in a way that is acceptable for me. It's not always nice, but it's acceptable for me. And I think that's what everyone needs to do when you first start shooting with the Ronin-S, getting used to the weight and finding a way to deal with it. Now, another point I'm not too excited about with the Ronin-S is its carrying case, this one here. Now, I know at the beginning of the series I actually found the case quite nice, and I was quite excited to get the case like this. This has changed in the meantime for several reasons. First of all, the size of this carrying case. I find it way too big for the contents that it carries inside. There's a lot of dead room in here, and in particular if you're traveling with your gear, you do want to have it as compact and small as possible packing wise, and this just doesn't do the job for me. I would actually like to see a smaller case, maybe even a soft case where you can put all the components inside. Also, I think DJI could have made this a lot better by just attaching a shoulder strap to the carrying case so that you can just have it on your shoulder as you're traveling and you don't have to hold it by the hand grip here. But that's just a little input. I am not the biggest fan of the carrying case, and I would actually like to see something smaller come out that you can just pack more easily, because this one is quite big. I don't like that. And last but not least, this is not so much a thing that I don't like about the Ronin-S, but it's more a thing that I would like to see in maybe a future firmware update as an option. I'm sure you've heard of the focus wheel that the Ronin-S incorporates, and which can be used on compatible cameras and lenses to manually set and change the focus while you're shooting. Now, while this is a great idea, I have barely ever used it for the simple reason that I find it too task loading, too complicated, trying to operate the gimbal, frame my shot, and at the same time worry about the focus. So most of the time I actually set my focus to where I want to have it, switch it to manual focus, and then just leave it there and try to keep the distance to my subject the same, or just close the aperture so that basically everything is in focus when I'm shooting wide angle shots. So this wheel has no real purpose for me at this stage, but what I would like to see is if we could use this wheel to operate other functions on the camera. So what I use a lot, especially during event videography, is changing the focal length. Now with my 12 to 60, I've got a big range that I can choose from, so I can get nice and wide angle shots, I can get close up and get some nice portrait shots of people having fun or whatever. And to be able to do that, I have to reach over onto the lens and change the focal length here every single time. Also, I can not really do it while I'm recording. I have to stop, change the focal length, and then start recording again. And if there's any way to connect those functions so that I can use the zoom function of certain lenses, I guess, through the focus wheel here, that would just be fantastic. And it would spare me the reach onto the lens and changing the focal length there rather than being able to do it right off that wheel. So DJI, if you're listening to this, if this is something that is technically possible, I would really like to see this as a future firmware update on the Ronin-S. And those were the points I don't like about the Ronin-S. So coming up to a summary, I can quite confidently say, after having used this gimbal for more than half a year now, that I definitely can recommend getting a gimbal. I can also definitely recommend getting the Ronin-S. It's a fantastic product, I find, for the price, which must be somewhere around $700 right now. As I said earlier on, it's very durable, it's very well built, it has a fantastic battery life, it's easy to use, it's easy to set up, it's very quick to be learned. If you pick it up and you play with it for a little while, your learning curve will be very steep, and within no time you'll be able to get some really nice shots out of such a setup. And these are all points why I think that a gimbal like the Ronin-S will definitely improve your production value and production quality. And as I said earlier on, it doesn't have to be a Ronin-S. It can be any other gimbal that does it for you. Important is that it meets your needs and that you can work with it in a way that you won't get tired, you won't get frustrated using the gimbal, so that you can just explore your creativity with shots that you can get with a gimbal that you cannot get without a gimbal, without a stabilization system like that. So I'm really happy that I've got the Ronin-S and I use it on a very frequent basis, and it's one of those equipment pieces that I rarely ever leave my house for a shooting without having that with me. Even if I don't plan on using it, it's always good to have it with you just in case you need that one shot that you just can't get without a gimbal. Alright guys, and that was it for today's video already. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. If you do need some more information on the Ronin-S, then please check out my other tutorials, my other videos in this mini-series which talk about different aspects of the Ronin-S, its functions, its usability. This was basically meant to be a little review on how I've experienced using the Ronin-S over the past 6 months. I hope this video was useful to you, I hope it was a little entertaining, and I hope you got some information out of it. If that's the case, please do hit that like button, it does mean a lot to me, and also consider subscribing to my channel and also clicking the notification bell so you do get notified whenever I upload the next video. If there's any questions to what I was saying in this video today, or any questions in general about the Ronin-S, please feel free to put them down in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to get back to you as quickly as possible. And if you want to get a Ronin-S for yourself, I'll also put the Amazon link down in the description, so feel free to go and check that out. And if you do decide to buy one, I'd appreciate if you use the affiliate link down below. It doesn't make the product any more expensive for you, but it does give a little kickback to me so that I can finance the further progress of this channel and keep producing content like this for you guys. So thanks again for watching, guys. Have fun creating new content, and I will see you next week.